Welcome to another episode of Driving to the Rose with your favorite hosts, Larry and Inelia. Hi, Inelia.
Had a little swapcast there.
Yes. Well, we were talking all about genders and sex and sexual orientations today because we were studying the class for the Sex, Looks and Relationships course that you can find at ineliabenz.com. And and it's all about that. And even though you go a little bit cross-eyed and you miss the second part of the class, which is all about the mystical use of all that energy. And it's interesting too because we've discovered and saw and have been seeing that since we did that class, there's an area that we haven't actually talked about, which is how gender, we have actually talked about it in the podcast, is being used to confuse people. So kids are being brought up with all sorts of weird messages, conflicting messages, strange messages, so that they're not sure about the gender, and that's very distracting, right? To keeping the masses distracted.
Oh, is it?
And them disempowered because they never fully on, they don't know actually what it's all about. But anyways, that was just a messing about.
Yeah, that was interesting this morning because when you first introduced that class, you had us get up at like 5:30 in the morning to listen to it.
To be in the class.
Right. We had to do it
6
live.
o'clock in the morning.
Show up at 6, ready to go, so you had to get up before that, 5:30.
Yeah.
Some people are good early morning people. I'm
not necessarily so.
Usually. Oddly enough, that's one of the reasons I bought my own boat.
So you didn't have to?
My own fishing boat, yeah, so I can wake up when I want to. Not when somebody else decides me to. And I could go home when I want to.
Yeah.
Many people think they buy a boat to catch more fish or do this or that, but it was so I could make the choices about my life.
No.
That was my reason. So
That's
this morning,
cool reasons.
this morning you got us up at really, really early.
I did not.
Like 9 o'clock or 10?
8. But I didn't do it. You said last night, hey, can you put the alarm on for 8? Because, we have so much to do in the morning before our Pure Heart meditation at 11. So can you just, and we have the other class at 8, 9.
I thought it was at 10.
The meeting for the study group.
Right. So I figured if we set the alarm for 8,
study group.
We would have easy hour of lollygagging in the morning bed.
Showers.
Then we could get up, have breakfast and showers and whatever, and listen maybe to the class, and then start the class at 10. But somehow the class went from 10 o'clock until 9 o'clock.
I think it's always been 9 o'clock.
But, maybe it has been, but I remembered it.
So I didn't wake us up. The alarm that you wanted me to set alarm woke us up. And then you decided to carry on snoozing.
Well, I was listening to the class. And it reminded me of the time that I was taking the class when we did this. This particular chapter was about sex and gender.
Yes.
And your soul and its sex or gender, and your physical body and its sex or gender, and your past histories and your sexual preferences.
And previous lifetimes.
And your previous lifetimes.
And the mystical use of gender energy. I
never ever made it to the mystical use of gender energy because when I had to get up at 5:30, I fell asleep also. And so this morning I was remembering, Jesus, just like when I was doing the class for live. I was listening and paying attention, and then poof, I was somewhere else, dreaming away.
It's interesting the resistances to seeing the power behind it. Huh?
Right, those are the resistances. That's how they manifest in
they
person. To go to sleep or to pass out.
Yeah.
So I have two choices.
You did.
To deal with this. I can either consciously choose to listen at another time, like after we're done recording maybe, turn it on and listen to it, actually listen to it, pay attention.
Yeah.
Or I can just close my eyes and go back to sleep. Right?
Yeah. So when you're running programs, you go back to sleep. That's what happens.
Because why is our programs designed to put us to sleep? Why can't we have programs that are designed to wake us up?
We do have those. Yep, we have those as well.
Why don't I have one of those?
You do. You're waking up for a lot of things, but some programs are deeper than others,
So to cure these deeper than others ones, what do?
You insist. And sometimes you do resistance to hearing this information. You're welcome here.
Okay, resistance to hearing this information. You're welcome here.
Yeah, that Okay, where is it in my field?
Where is that resistance?
You find it. Did you find it yet?
I'm looking.
Did you find it yet?
I'm looking.
Did you find it yet? Did you find it yet?
Yeah, there's like a burning, like twirly thing around the bottom of my foot. Like my calf down to my foot.
Nice.
A twirly, burny thing. Well, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah, you can. You can deal with that later now that you've seen it.
Now that I've seen it, I can deal with it and I can listen and actually hear.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the process we just used, it's basically the fear processing exercise, but you can use it for just about anything, and you can find that at ineliabenz.com under tools. All the text there, you can just, grab the text, learn it, or record it in your own voice and do it. Or also I did a little recording that you can download for $10 and support the website at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, to support it and get something. Sort of like completing the
circuit.
Completing the circuit, yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting, right? It kind of, part of it, it's like looking at the whole process, and part of what we talked about in the class is also previous lifetimes and how they can affect you during this lifetime, right? And like your physical body elemental has had so many lifetimes, and your soul has had so many lifetimes, and some people have had the same physical body elemental soul combo for all of their lifetimes on Earth, like you, right? And other people swap and change partners every lifetime.
Wow, right? I wonder why they would do that.
Well, it's just an agreement, because sometimes you make a 10,000 life plan, for example, and you can do it with your physical body elemental to do all those 10,000 lives. Or 19,000, or whatever, random number,
whatever
right?
Number you want.
Yeah, random number. Or sometimes you can just, like, the plan involves you having lives with 10,000 different physical body elementals, so that plan means that you need to find a new one for each lifetime, right? So it's all about experience. We're here to have experiences, and we're here to, remember those experiences in between lives, and the plan. And sometimes, people say, oh, you get in there in between lives and you get trapped and this and this and the other, but that's by design.
Trapped in this rebirth cycle, etc., etc.
But that's by your design. You decided to have so many lifetimes and then forget, You decided. Nobody else did. You're not a victim, basically.
Right, because there's a tendency to blame that on some other aliens or something.
Yeah, or the prison planet.
Things like that. Yeah. Right, but it's truly a story that you like to help keep you engaged in your cycle of rebirth.
Of the experience.
Without waking up to the fact that you're doing it.
Right.
Because it's part of like making that experience
feel real.
Engaging.
It's
Otherwise,
like
it would be pretty much impossible
if you came
to
in
really
here,
engage in it.
Right.
Because at some point you're like, you know what, I'm having a bad Tuesday. I don't like cheese anymore. I'm out of here. But you would only do that if you knew it was fatal but not serious or something, You would only do that if there were no consequence. And there are no consequence. But if you believe the other stuff, then it makes it persistent, this life. So you give it value.
When you watch a movie, for example, right? So you really immerse yourself in the movie, and you're with the characters, and you get really engrossed in the movie. Or a favorite book, right?
Yeah, very immersed experience.
An immersed experience.
Right. So if you're planning 100 lives, you don't want to wake up at life
52
and short circuit it.
Right.
I mean, you could.
You always have a choice. But most people, 1,000 lives, let's say each one's 100 years on Earth. That's 100,000 years. But for your eternal divine being, that's nothing. That's like a tiny little blink you can hardly see. But for us here in this particular life, it's a long time.
Right. I don't think it was 100,000 lives. You said 1,000 lives or 100 lives?
1,000 lives at 100 years
That's
each.
100,000 years, plus or minus.
Yeah.
Depending on if you have them one like right after the other, after the other, after the other. And you live a long time each one. Mm-hmm. But you could probably squeeze that into 50,000 if you want.
Yeah, you could. Shorter lives.
Shorter lives, or, a few short ones, a few long ones, sort of average out.
And there's people on the planet who have designed a way in which they can remember their previous lifetimes. So their design plan and their experience is to have multiple lives on Earth, but where they remember and they still have that personality, the original one, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes talking about it at some level, you hear it, and you may hear it and say that's interesting, and then put it off to the side so that you can safely forget it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know it, but you're not going to use it at a conscious level to alter something.
Right.
Because you have a plan and you like your plan.
Yeah, usually you do. And the other interesting thing that I found, because I have done some regression therapy work in the past, it's not from any particular method except that, the intuitive methodology that I've followed through the higher self instruction, right? So basically, during sessions or whatever, the person would spontaneously start looking at their previous lifetimes, or I could see their entire lineage, right? The entire lifespan of linear time. Back, and all the way forward, right? Mm-hmm. And when doing that, often the person would go instantaneously into remembering past lives. But what was interesting to me at the time was that, let's say they had 100 previous lifetimes on Earth, okay? And out of that 100 previous lifetimes, 4 of them, they were a black man in Central Africa, let's say.
Okay.
Right. And the rest, they were from all over the place, all over the world. And different, maybe 10 of them, they might have been an Indian girl, a Native American Indian, right? Maybe 50 of those, they were a white woman from Europe. And another 2 or 3, maybe they were from China. Right? They had all these experiences. And what I found fascinating is that they would very often, just go back to a pattern, right? Like the 3 lives that they might have had, one 1,000 years ago, another one 100 years ago, and maybe the third one 50 years ago in a previous life, right? Mm-hmm. They had it in Central Africa, right? As a black man. And they will remember those only.
They would identify with those ones.
Yeah, they just remember those. They wouldn't remember any of the others. And I often found that was interesting to me, because it meant that those are the lives that brought significance and significant information to this one.
Right.
For whatever reason, right? They brought in significant information to this one. And often if you go to that person's house, you'd find all sorts of stuff from Africa, and they probably haven't even been to Africa, and they most certainly weren't born there this lifetime. But for some reason, they were fascinated with all the African art, and they had their entire house decorated with it, or even their just office decorated with it, So it's really fascinating about that. It's like you have all these lifetimes and you plan ahead, let's say, even if it's, let's say like 10,000 years or 10,000 lifetimes, but let's say you planned for the next 30 lives.
Okay.
To have an experience, a certain experience that you want to have for 30 lives. So for 30 lives, you want to be the captain of a ship, let's say, and go in the ocean. Right? So for 30 lives, you're going to do that because you really want to experience every aspect of being on a ship and being a captain.
That sounds good.
Right? Yeah. Or a pirate, or whatever,
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And so you plan ahead and you have a 50 lifetime plan, right? That you need to come in and out of the planet at specific times so you don't miss your next boat.
Right, because, they only build boats in certain ways at certain times.
Exactly, yeah. So every now and then you might take a little break and have a little break from it.
Yeah, to go from sail to steam. Just wait a little while, let the rest of the sailboats go away and jump on the steam one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so...
Sailboats are a lot of work. Yeah, let's do 2 or 3 of those. Let's skip the rest and then we'll move right on.
Yeah. So in between those, you might go and, be a hunter in the wilderness somewhere.
Or maybe go flying.
Or go flying, whatever is right, yeah. So you plan ahead. You plan your 50 lives, and then you carry them out. And in those 50 lives, you might have like 50 spouses, or maybe if you get divorced in those, you might have more than 50 spouses. Then you have, how many children?
A few hundred kids. 1,000 maybe.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot of kids, yeah. You can have those. How many pets, How many dogs can you have in those all in 50 lifetimes? A lot. A lot of dogs, especially seeing that you can have 5 to 10 dogs in the pack, Mm-hmm. So, it's pretty intense, all the things that you can plan. But again, the exit points for each lifetime, they don't have to be like persistent or stuck. You're not stuck. Say, okay, you plan to have a life until, and you need to leave when you're 80, because when you're 80, the certain other thing happens and the couple's going to be together and blah, blah, blah. So you have to leave at 80 so that you can catch the next train, right? The next boat. And you're with that couple as their kid.
Right.
But what can happen is that at 80, you decide, you just met this beautiful person and you want to get married. And so you marry at 80. And of course, then you want to stay around, right? Because you don't just get married and then die the next day. So you decide, you know what? I'm going to give myself another 20 years, maybe 30 to this person.
Yep.
And you both live happily ever after for another 30 years. You die at 110, right? And guarantee that at 110, there's going to be another boat for you that can continue with your long-term plan. Right. Or maybe you skip one lifetime because that other person's still alive, that you would have been in that role, right? As the child of that couple or whatever. That couple has to grow old and die, come back, become an adult, meet again so that you can be their kid. So you're going to sleep again.
Yeah.
There's that thing. Larry has the resistances. He starts falling asleep when there's too much information that he's not ready for.
Crawling out of that hole.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. Do you remember?
Past lives, I think.
Yeah.
Sticking around for one of them.
Yeah.
Saying, I got 40 or 50 planned, and we find an exit point at 80, let's say. There's hard and soft exit points.
Yes.
Soft exit points are, if you're going along and things ain't going to plan, and you feel like you want to get out of here, you can take your soft exit.
Yeah.
You might have many opportunities for a soft exit, sort of sprinkled through.
Yeah.
And a hard exit are ones like, according to this plan, we should be gone by here.
Yes.
By here, we should be gone to make the rest of it to go according to the plan. Mm-hmm. But every plan, or there's no plan so solid that it can't change when you meet reality or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So
you can always change your mind.
You can change your mind and you don't mess up your plan. You just alter your plan.
It's very fluid.
It's fluid, right. And so an exit's coming. Sometimes you become aware of exits by signs around you, like all of a sudden you think, geez, I really should get my will done. Geez, I really should X, Y, Z, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that's a clue to pay attention. Is this really, am I ready? I don't know if you can get conscious of, are you ready? How do you move your exit point from an unconscious to a conscious place? Or do you? Or how does that even work? It just seems like me that, we're hardwired in these bodies to say, don't die. Mm-hmm. And stay away from things that might kill you. Some people do crazy stuff, but they say that makes them feel more alive, maybe even, But mostly we're on a preservation path. We don't necessarily self-destruct ourselves. I suppose that we can be orchestrated to self-destruct when we're so far off of what we want to be doing that there's almost no chance of pulling her back together. It's like,
so my brother had one of those.
Did he?
Yeah, he had an exit point once because he did exactly that. So the situation was that he was living in Ireland and he was extremely happy there, very, very, very happy. He has work, he's employed by a company that he loved, and friends and workmates really, really loved it there. He was in his element, and you could tell that, he was extremely happy. And then at some point, he was married, and his wife was the opposite there. She was extremely unhappy. She didn't have a work visa, they wouldn't give her one, and it was just like a nightmare for her. So her dream, her entire life, was to go and live in Paris, right? France. As close to Paris as possible. So my brother put in for a transfer from the same company. It was an international company for their French office, which was very close to Paris.
Yep.
So they moved there, and she got a job with the company as well as a receptionist, and she was extremely happy. But my brother was very unhappy, and one of the things that he mentioned at the time was, he said, I don't know what's going on, he said, because my entire life I've been able to perceive the future and make decisions according to that perception and following the right path, but now my future seeing is gone. Dang. I cannot see it. And I looked at it with him and I said, oops, you're in the wrong path, boy, right? I said, yeah, I knew that. I said, I knew I was in the wrong path as soon as we got here. I shouldn't be here. And he says, well, I would move. Really, you have to move. Because if you don't move, will get moved. You will be died, right? You will be...
That's serious.
You will be exited. By your higher self. It's like, this is not your right path. And if you continue it for too long, you will be returned to your right path by getting a new life, right? So he looked at it and it was really bad. And then he realized and he saw it because he's highly aware and psychically aware. And he started seeing death and it's like, yeah, I need to leave. And he's got a total nervous breakdown. He had a total meltdown. And when I looked at that situation, I knew that situation was something that his wife and his wife's family would understand. Oh, right? Because the woo-woo stuff, they wouldn't. Yeah. That was just being irresponsible, giving up on a wonderful job and all that other stuff, right?
I see.
So he did a compromise. And instead of going back to Ireland, which is where he wanted to go, because that was his land, that was his place, that was his people, he went back to Spain. Right? It's like they compromised. So he went back to Spain because she's Spanish. And he started seeing the future again. And his death door closed. And he got completely better. He's never had another psychotic episode again, ever. But he's never succeeded in life there. He hasn't succeeded in life. People might say, well, financially, personally, creativity, what? None of the above, right? So he's just surviving. He's just been surviving, but not flourishing.
Not exiting, not flourishing, just not. So like treading water.
Treading water, yeah. Your dog wants to talk to you. Tiny. So the person can become aware, and often a person will sit down one day and go, "What is this? Why am I here? What is this life? This is not me," And you don't have to be psychic to have that type of moment or feeling, right?
Right.
And then, some other people will be extremely aware. I've met a few people, and myself included, who can see the doors coming up.
Right.
Right. And then it's a matter of making a decision, conscious decision, okay, and getting allies, good counsel. Says, okay, just like any other type of manifestation. Do I want to stay or do I want to leave? Right. And it has to be a true and real decision. Because if it isn't, you're going to exit. Like if you look at a door coming up and you think, no, I don't want to exit that door. You really have to go deep, like the programs, like you were looking at your resistance there. Like you really deeply, you have to look for that and find it and really process it. Because without that real process, what comes out of your mouth, even if you say, no, I don't want to die, I want to stay here, it isn't part of your plan, for example, or it isn't part of the human collective's agreement or your higher self or whatever. And you really have to work to weave through the timeline into staying alive. It has to be real. Without that reality, it's not going to work. Right? And often you can get allies, Mm-hmm. So, like a few years ago, one of our friends had one of those solid ones coming up in his life, right? And I looked at him, and he knew it, even though he didn't know it. He was sorting out his will and the usual, writing to all his people, and he wasn't sick or anything. He was perfectly fine. And I looked at him and says, hey, you're not leaving, because I need you here. Period. That's it. You can't leave. And he didn't. Right? Mm-hmm. And the window came up, and then left, and all was well.
He was still here.
He was still here, and he's still here. Right? So sometimes it's just like that, like the agreement you need, with these exit points also need the human collective agreement. And my exit point in 2016-17, there were like thousands upon thousands of people around the planet saying, no, we don't want you to leave.
Yep. Right?
It's not allowed. You cannot leave. And the human collective figured out a way, and Gaia figured out a way for me to stay, right?
Yep. Gaia's pretty good at that.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, it's not about giving my power away to Gaia or the human collective, but the situation was very unique in that I had no opinion either way. Because of how I was my construct at the time, I had zero opinion whether to leave or go. It was the same to me. There was no difference.
Which is basically how all of us might be to some degree if we weren't with our programs keeping us in the game.
Right, exactly, that immersion, right?
That immersion, yeah.
So I was lacking the immersion part.
Totally.
Right?
Not immersed, not what? A little tiny bit.
No, it's like,
here
what difference
purpose,
does it make?
Done, okay, see ya.
Yeah. What difference
does
it make?
See ya or not, either way.
Yeah. I remember when I died, when I was 7 years old, I died, right? And I was in that, I was out of my body, I was dead. And I was thinking, oh, that was interesting. And I remember sitting in the void, thinking, I wonder why I'm here still. Because I knew I would dissolve, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just sitting there in the void, and cross-legged on the floor of the void, which is just sitting in the midair, because there's nothing, there's just black all around you. But I could feel my legs crossed, and my elbows on my knees, and my hands holding my head, looking around, waiting. Mm-hmm. I was just waiting until the Machi came, right? And I saw her walking towards me from the blackness of the void. She was walking towards me. I never met this woman in real life. And she was walking towards me, and she had really curly black hair and dark skin, mm-hmm. big brown eyes, big lips. And, or was it thin lips? No, they were regular lips, actually. They weren't thick. And she looked at me, and she said, Inelia, come to me. With the voice, Right. She used the voice. So I did. Right into her. And that's how I got the Machi lineage. But anyways, it's not like I haven't exited in the past, and I exited another few times as well, and I always came back, right? So I'm very familiar with that process.
Remember when you were overstaying your welcome in California, and you had no blood pressure at the doctor's office?
No oxygen in my
No oxygen either.
No oxygen in my blood. The oxygen level was so low, that the woman started dialing 911 at the clinic. And I said, "What are you doing?" He says, No, I can't treat this. I don't know how you're walking. I don't know how you're talking. I'm not sure why you're standing up. And she checked it 3 or 4 times to make sure. Because it was so low. And I'm like, just put me in that machine, I'll be fine. Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes, but after that I'm calling 911.
That was a nebulizer thing, huh?
Yeah. So I told my body, okay, you better get
some air.
Yeah. And she did, because I don't like hospitals.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so all these things, they can, they're very fluid, right? And yeah, I mean, in this time period, with the split that's happening right now, and, things are becoming clear out in the world of this is a massive, killing spree for the whatevers, many people are going to die within the next 3 years. And not all due to the jabs, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's about frequency, sometimes it's about, choosing to live because they don't want to live through this process of what the world is going through right now. Mm-hmm. Or because, you have other plans somewhere else, right? Or other plans here on this earth that don't longer fit with the life that you're carrying out right now. Right. So it's a little bit like that. And it is also true that some people can literally open a door and exit by choice. And I've seen that happen in England. I saw it a few times when I saw people when they retired from their job. And they would retire and they were perfectly fine and there was no doors open at all. They weren't even that grayish kind of vibration color thing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then suddenly...
Gone.
Like, I would look at them and talk to... because we lived in a very old neighborhood. And most of the people there were old people. And suddenly you would see their door behind them. And we're like, whoa. And what can you say? Nothing. That was a door they opened because it wasn't there before. And they made a decision somehow in their frequency, higher self or whatever's. Time for me to go. Bye. I'm gone.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
From inside, it's bizarre. I guess from outside, it's just Tuesday or what?
Yeah. So people are empowered. Like, even if you're unconscious, you're empowered, right?
Right.
So all of my teachings are about becoming conscious of your decisions. And the exit points is one of those. And just because somebody exits... like during the split doesn't mean that they're dark people, dark workers.
Or pick the dark light.
Oh, but yeah, pick the light dark.
Doesn't have anything to do with that.
No, it doesn't.
Just only just about maybe the experience they want to have.
Yeah, maybe their parents are getting back,
Maybe they are. Maybe their brilliant plan is to experience the split as a baby.
Yeah, maybe.
Can't do that if you ain't a baby.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that kind of does create a good immersion, Because when you're a baby and there's set of, I call them facts, but rules of engagement that you're born under that are your set points that you don't even question. Mm-hmm. That it could be different because it's just, that's how things are.
Yeah.
The water's wet, sun is warm, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. There's like 1,000 of those set points, right?
Yes.
So those are going to color your experience of what's going on. Mm-hmm. basically they're your prejudices in a sense. You're prejudiced to think if somebody does this or that, they're this or that. You know, it's like your just unconscious program.
Yes.
Then those are set when your baby's a lot.
Yep.
So if you want to be a baby with a new set of new paradigm programs, you might want to be a baby right now and just experience the split as a baby. So you just like grow up in light reality or whatever, you know. Yeah. That could be a reason.
Yep.
But you probably wouldn't exit via jab.
No, you wouldn't.
You might pick a different exit.
Yeah, probably. Because I would have a lot of hard work to get back onto the light. You know, it's not impossible, but you'd have to be so aware and conscious about it.
Right, and I do hear tendency to lump in, if you're picking light dark, that you're picking dark, but it's not that. It's just picking this.
Yeah.
The way things are right now.
Exactly, yeah. Just continue
on with what I'm having.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's basically what
the people keep saying, let's go back to normal.
Yeah.
That's what they're picking.
That's what they're picking.
That's it.
Back to that normal.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So you can have a light paradigm, or you can have a normal paradigm. There you go. Does that sound better?
I guess so, but there's a tendency for light beings to consider light reality to be the right reality.
Normal, yeah.
No, the right one.
Oh.
Light is right. It's even rhyme, you know?
Yeah, the rhyme.
But that's the set point and paradigm set point, and that's the whole thing that I'm talking about is you are not the only one who has a set point of what is right. Mm-hmm. Your set point isn't right for everybody, basically.
Correct.
So a light dark, this current paradigm set point is right for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. It's not wrong.
Yep.
So I suppose it's reasonable to move out of judgment around it, but, you know, for a while there it was a little bit hard to not be in judgment about what people are doing.
Mm-hmm. Especially seeing as you're a healer from a long healing tradition of the Maca lineage. A very powerful lineage as well. And what do healers want? Healthy bodies, right? They want to make sure that the tribe is healthy.
Sure.
That people are healthy. They have strong, healthy bodies. Bodies that are very hard to kill.
Yeah, very, very
that's what you want.
one.
It's like, that's the lineage. That's what's in your blood.
Right. But what I want isn't what everybody wants.
Yeah, but it's like to see people damaging your body hurts you. It's like literally hurts you because it's in your blood to see healthy bodies, and then when somebody hurts themselves, it's harsh, you know.
Yep. Hard to explain.
Or to accept even that somebody would do that.
Well, it's hard to accept, but it's hard to explain it because they don't have the capability or the desire to bring that information on board, because that interrupts things, I guess.
Yeah.
So, just live and let live is almost I guess that's the let it crumble part.
Yeah.
It's still the let it crumble part.
Right.
Although I do notice in the remember last year there was an attempt to create a big shock.
Yes.
By disclosing the fact or the truth of the matter, basically.
When
I say fact and truth of the matter, the intention behind it and those kind of things, and that didn't come through.
No, because the human collective is pretty wise, and that wave, they wanted to create a massive wave of upset, low frequency wave around the planet, and the human collective said, no, we're not going to have that wave.
Seems
so
now,
people didn't hear it.
Right, couldn't hear it.
No.
It was released though. I
mean,
I read it, I saw it, I was like,
what?
Geez, that's on
right
main everything. But it's just not seen.
Exactly.
So crazy. How watching it happen, you realize how selective you are about the information you allow in.
Right.
You're the boss of what you actually let in.
Yes.
So, for instance, not being able to see you as a potential, hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
Couldn't see you.
No, I couldn't see you either.
What did I look like?
Honey. Like a girl.
It did not look like a girl.
To me, you did.
Not even close. But see, that's
no,
the thing.
you don't, because the day that I actually saw you, I was like, whoa,
who's that?
Larry's a bloke and he's so handsome. Ooh. I was like, Jesus, is that Larry? What? Oh my God, did he always look that way? Was he always a gay?
That's so funny.
I know, it was hilarious at the time. Oh, which reminds me, talking about the instant manifestation workshop and how all the tools that we use on there, it's coming up again. Benz Academy are putting up the workshop on again.
Yeah.
Very soon, so get over there, ibenzacademy.com. Get it, because this empowers you. This is amazing, amazing, amazing workshop. And we're talking today with a couple, right, that instantly manifested themselves into each other's lives and saw each other.
Totally.
And
they were invisible to each other almost. They were like,
they used the tools. They used not only the love, sex, and relationship course, but also they actually used the tools of the instant manifestation workshop to get through all the process, because especially one of them kept saying, I want to find my spouse, I want to be happily married with a high frequency person, right?
Yep.
I start a family, this and this and the other. And I would say one of the tools is, well, why don't you have it now? Right? And it's like, even just that one tool changes your life, Anyways, she used that tool and then some other tools and all the other tools, and before she knew it, she instantly manifested a high frequency awakened guy that she kind of has been perceiving for years, because a lot of the stuff that she kept saying, I like to do that with my husband. He actually does.
He was doing, yes. Yeah. I sure wish my husband
would. They've known each other for years.
Like that. I'd like if my husband does things like that.
And they've known each other for years. It's
totally just walking right around you and you don't see it.
Totally invisible to each other.
Right. So
just like we were invisible to each other.
Totally.
So go to ibenzacademy.com, get that workshop done, because it's not just about manifesting cars or, relationships or whatever, but it's actually using these powerful tools and becoming aware of your decisions and how you can click, shift, and change set points of your life, right?
Right.
I remember I also talk about a friend of mine who I knew in Ireland, and she was in a very, very deep depression for years. She couldn't get out of it. And then she kept talking about committing suicide, and she was my friend, she tried a few times as well, and she would call me, and she called me once, right, when she was in the middle of it, and she said, okay, Inelia, I'm phoning to say goodbye because I'm committing suicide right now. And says, okay, good luck, and it was really nice knowing you, and bye. And the next morning she calls me, and she says, oh, you're still alive? She says, yeah, not thanks to you. And I says, what do you mean? I said, no, I called another friend who came over and saved me and took me to the hospital.
Oh, no.
And I said, oh, okay. Cool.
I'm glad you have friends.
Well, I'm glad you have those friends, because, don't call me with that bullshit anymore, because you know what I'm going to say.
My gosh.
And at one point, we were talking about it, and she said, the reason that I'm so unhappy is just my life has been so hard, and, it's so hard now. And she just explained the whole process of being in a deep depression, right? Mm-hmm. And not wanting her life. She just did not like her life at all. And I said, well, why don't you, I understand that if you die, you will get a new body, and you'll get a new name and a new personality, but then you have to go to school again, and you have to wear diapers, and, you don't know, because you're in a very low frequency state right now, that you probably be born into a family that's totally fucked up, pardon my F's, and it's not gonna change anything, but you can make that change now, consciously. Why don't you sell up, change your name, and move to a different country where nobody knows you, with that new name and new personality, sell everything and throw everything away, just buy new clothes, new everything, move to that country and start a new life. Do that. Then you can have the opportunity, at least, do that once, and if it doesn't work, you pop yourself, right? But try it, because then you start a new life now without having to get diapers, without having to go to school again, and making sure that you're not born into a really nasty family, because you're in that low frequency. So try it, see what happens, right? And she did. She sold her house. She sold everything. She threw everything else that she couldn't sell. She bought herself new clothes. She changed her name and she moved countries to a different country.
Jeez.
And then the last communication said, okay, this is my last communication because I'm going to be a new person and I don't know you in that lifetime. Right? And I don't know anybody. I've said goodbye to everyone. And she said goodbye, and that was the last I ever heard of her.
Have you ever tapped in to see if she ended up having an interesting new life?
She did. Yeah, I tapped in. Yeah. Cool. She was happy. She went from this dark cloud around her to this beautiful light around her. And her, like, I remember certain things that, it was just beautiful. I loved it.
That's fascinating. That's a really great story.
Yeah. So, exit point of your life doesn't mean, dying even. Because you always hear about people who are going midlife crisis or whatever,
Right.
And they have an affair and marry somebody younger or whatever.
Destruct their life, basically.
Yeah, they press the destruct button and start again.
Right.
Or buy a sports car and, whatever. Crash it. Or whatever,
Yeah.
Or, I've met so many people, especially because I work, and a lot of people who go to my material are people who are going through awakening and a spiritual awakening and want to reach enlightenment, for example. So I've met a lot of people who actually walked out of their life and went to study at a Buddhist temple or a guru's temple in India, or ashram or wherever, just leaving everything behind and did that instead, right? And that's a new life, and they have new name, right? They've changed their name.
Yeah.
Their guru usually gives them a name. So it's not unusual, right? That you can restart, you can click, it's over and start something completely new. It's not unusual at all. People can do that. So there's lots of ways to continue with your plan. It's flexible without necessarily exiting, right? And to me, my thoughts are, if you possibly can and become aware of it, and you have had nigglings that you might be leaving, especially if you're like having closure with all your friends and family and you recently made a will. That type of thing is usually your higher awareness letting you know. Don't ignore them. I mean, even if you ignore it, you don't make a will and you don't write those letters, you're still thinking about it or feeling that you should. You can become aware of it and think, okay, so let's have a look at my timeline. And I would suggest that if you're listening to this podcast, you obviously are a light worker, right? You're working for the light here. You want to continue bringing light experiences to this planet, expanding the human collective's awareness and all that. I would say that we need to be as many numbers staying here as adults as we possibly can. So, I don't know the situation, if you're sick, get better. There's lots of miraculous cures,
There's even a panacea.
Yeah. So, there's lots of things that you can do to make sure that, let your physical body know, let your higher self know, no, I'm going to stick around. Let's say, just say another 5 years, right?
Yeah, let's just say at least another 5 years.
Yeah. And
just
then can you
go for
revisit?
5, and then we'll look at it again in 5.
Yeah. Revisit in 5.
Right. So, there is a tendency at this time for people to be getting colds and sick and whatever the thing of the month is, They got the flu or they're sick or they're puking or whatever, all the normal,
all the colds,
don't feel good stuff, can't breathe, can't this, can't the other. There's a set program in place that means if you feel that, then you need to go get a test. And if you get a test, then you need to do this, and then you need to go there, and you need to go to that, and you need to get this. And if you follow that path, oftentimes that one leads to an exit.
It does, yeah.
But how are you supposed to, the reason that you follow that path is because you're afraid that if you don't, you're going to exit.
Yeah.
Basically, right? But
Yeah.
it is that fear path that brings you to the exit, this particular time and place.
Yeah.
So when you're feeling down under the weather, for example, we listen to Dr. Cohen quite often, and it was interesting. Remember when all the people getting sick idea came around, the COVID stuff, you said, I checked, there's no virus. And I said, you checked and there's no virus? Yeah. Don't say that, honey.
Don't say that.
Everybody will think you're crazy.
Well, it's going to be a lot harder to listen to the message of empowerment if the person thinks I'm a nutter. Right? They already think I'm a little bit nutty, but no viruses on the planet? Come on. That's fucking crazy.
That's just crazy
my
talk.
efforts again.
It's like, come on, really?
Yeah.
You might as well say gravity is an illusion and everybody's actually floating a millimeter over the ground. They're not actually touching.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's true. Not a millimeter, though.
Yeah, it's less than a millimeter.
Much closer. But besides that, let's
not
go there. Viruses. Okay, viruses. So you said that, and the universe was kind enough to bring into my life another authority.
Yeah, the data, lots of authorities, actually. Yeah.
And lots of authorities who verified that statement wasn't a talk of a crazy lady. It was verifiable.
Yeah.
And reasonable, actually. And in fact, more reasonable than the other.
Yeah, than an invisible creature that...
Than the invisible thing that you can't collect that is only around if you multiply it by 1 billion trillion.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we can follow the logic trains
and it
all
looks
day
like
long.
A bit of cell.
Yeah. We follow the logic trains for a long time. Anyone who follows them with sincerity will find that, oh my God, I've been sold a bill of goods.
Yeah.
And believed it. Why did I believe it? Well, why wouldn't I?
I was devastated because viruses were my favorite enemy. I loved to hate viruses. I loved it.
Yes, I know.
And suddenly they were gone.
I know, it was
I was devastated.
You were devastated and I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I think the point I was trying to get at, though, was that when we follow the statement that you made, and then I try to verify it with some data that I can collect, I found that data. We found it together, actually. I was relieved. I was like, oh, geez. I was relieved because we weren't the
only ones.
You weren't the only one saying that. I was like...
You refused to believe me even at first.
Well, no, of course not. I was like, honey...
That's a bit too much.
That's a little too far, don't you think? I mean, viruses, everybody knows their viruses are real.
Yeah.
But I never really looked.
Right.
And that was the first rule.
It's just a little bit of a scratch of a surface and boom.
Just look.
Mm-hmm.
Just look. And be, as you should, skeptical. Mm-hmm. Because this is an invisible thing that you need to be afraid of. And that's probably your first clue.
Yes.
Invisible things that you should be afraid of are probably things you better check.
Check, yeah.
Because that's the first illusion.
Yeah.
Anyways, down to the end of that path, if you get sick, even though you've been told or you've heard from us or Dr. Cohen or Dr. Lanka or whomever that viruses aren't real, there's still the underlying subconscious program that says, maybe I've been listening to the wrong doctor because Dr. Cohen's a doctor.
Yeah, but
and there's 100 other doctors who say the other thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So who am I listening to and why do I give them weight? Mm-hmm. Right? So how do you truth your stuff.
So that's it. Uncertainty does start coming in and creeping in. Or even uncertainty, the other type of uncertainty that I've been detecting by many people by their comments, and I looked at it, is the uncertainty of wanting to be on Earth right now during, for example, a collapse of the communication system and food chain, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, people are uncertain. It's like, I don't think I want to experience that.
I want to go through that.
Yeah.
Or there's a giant war, and they're going to be
bombings.
It goes kinetic, which means, there's missiles and bombs flying around, and burned up stuff, and catastrophes. Yeah. Who wants to experience that?
Exactly. So that type of uncertainty can also come in, not just the uncertainty of, actually, I thought this was the real
but look, I'm sick and I must have it.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to die. I better start listening to those doctors.
Right. And then go to the hospital and never come out.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Well, unless that's your plan, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if you're sick and you want to go to the hospital, do it. If you want to listen to your doctor, go ahead and do it. We're not giving medical advice, and we're not telling people not to go to the hospital.
No, because that would just be
stupid.
Stupid?
Legally stupid. We're not qualified to say those things, and we don't tell people to do that.
What do we tell people to do?
I would say, well, me personally,
yeah,
I have been avoiding hospital my entire life, right? Because from being a teenager, I saw that there was something very, very wrong with that system, right? Even when I was 18, they wouldn't allow me to give birth at home, especially seeing as there was the dodgy heart aspect of it. But I said, okay, I'm going to give birth at the hospital, but there's certain things that I want done, and there are certain things I do not want done. I do not want drugs. I do not want to be cut. I do not want this and this and the other, right?
Right.
Antibiotics and actually the antibiotics they snuck in. But anyway, all these other things. Oh no, they didn't sneak them in actually. I said no antibiotics. And when I was 18 and I looked like I was 14 because I looked really, really young.
Right.
I was in the hospital and they have all these nurses and midwives and doctors, and they tried to do these things to me that I said I didn't want to. And I was literally in the moment of pushing the baby out. Right. And they tried to do something that I didn't want them to. And they said, no, we're going to do it. I said, no, you're not. And I looked at them and I stood up between contractions, or the push energy. Yeah. And I looked at them and said, you stay F away from me. You're not coming close to me with that thing. Right?
Yep.
And they did not know what was going on here. Right? Nobody had ever spoken to them like that. Because everybody gives away their authority thinking that those doctors and midwives know better.
They know better, yeah.
Right? And I said, no. And he says, well, you're in the hospital, you have to do what we say. I said, okay, get my bags, I'm leaving. And I started getting off the bed while I was pushing. And I was leaving. Oh. And they knew it.
Yes.
And they said, well, somebody stop her, right? My first husband was there. I said, somebody stop her. And he says, well, we can't. We can't stop her. Legally, we cannot stop her. She's free to leave. But we're not responsible for her or the baby if she leaves, but we cannot stop her. I said, well, the only way you can stop me is for keeping that one away with those equipment. Yeah. Just keep her away from me. If she comes anywhere close to me, I'm stepping out of here. I don't care how the baby is coming out right there, in the middle of the coming out or whatever. So they kept her away.
I remember all my experiences in the hospitals. Well,
but listen, you see, I knew because I knew they didn't know better, because my body knew better. I was 18. I was a kid.
Right.
I was a child. But I knew better than them. And I knew better. And it was like a light bulb going off in my brain. My body knows better than these people. Right? Because my mom was the opposite. She believed in doctors, and she gave her all of the authority.
All of it, yeah.
And she used to force me to go to the doctor once a month, right, to get me checked up. Now, later on, I found out because she thought I might be pregnant.
Sneaker.
But she would literally go to the doctor herself nearly every week.
Yep.
Right? Because hypochondriac, I don't know. But it's like she believed in that doctor, and if that doctor didn't give her pills to go away with, she was upset. Right? So that's one of the signs of a damaged healer. Right? Because then they become their own patient, and then they have to give the authority to the doctor. So those are all symptoms of something. But even with that upbringing, I knew that there was something very wrong with that system for me personally. I knew this. And that I had to listen to my body and to my higher wisdoms, because they didn't know as much as my body and my higher wisdom knew. Right? Mm-hmm. So I had that knowing. And after that, I refused to go to the doctor as much as possible. I tried to keep my kids out of the hospital and doctors as much as I could. But of course, if my kid had 104 temperature or whatever, I'd call the doctor, and the doctor used to come to your house, right? I remember one doctor came into the house with my daughter. She was like, I don't know, 2 or 3. She had 104 temperature, and he came in, looked at her, and this is like in Ireland, they're a different breed there where I lived in a little village.
Yep.
He looks at her and says, how long has she had this? Says, it started today. Call me in 3 days. And give her plenty of water, lots of water. And she pukes it. So I don't care. Just give her more. And if you pinch her skin and it stays up, you call me. And if she's still like this in 3 days, you call me. Because kids, this is the fever. This is what's going to kill the stuff. And I was like, whoa, like, now that doctor was cool. So it's the right decision to call that doctor, right?
Right.
To me, that moment. But I was ready to drive her to the hospital because, there's certain things that the hospitals are very good for. When I had my motorbike accident, absolutely take me to the hospital, right? And they even, I died at that moment too, and they brought me back.
Yeah.
The ambulance people and stuff. Yeah. So, they put everything back together again and, sent me home. But it's like that type of thing. And
it's almost like they're exit point chaperones.
Yeah.
They can either chaperone you in or out.
Wow, yeah, exactly, yeah. So you have to really follow your intuition. Because, for example, when I had bronchitis for 6 months and I was just tired of not being able to breathe, remember? Mm-hmm. And at the end I said, Larry, I need to go to the hospital. And it's like, for me to say that, it's pretty serious. It's pretty serious.
Yeah, that's pretty serious.
So we went to the hospital, and what did the doctor say? She said, actually, we don't have a cure for bronchitis. It is bronchitis. She did a test, It is bronchitis. We don't have a cure for it. Nobody knows how to cure this. I can give you antibiotics. They're not going to do anything, but some people feel better with it in their, to live with antibiotics in their pocket. I said, no, not me. So good. This is not good for you. They're not going to help your lungs, right? Mm-hmm. And in this situation, they're not good. And she said, what I found that actually helps and cures it, although it takes a while, is raw honey and lemon. Yep. And that's what my body had been craving for the 6 months. That's why I drank it. Mm-hmm. Then it probably kept me alive. Because I had very, very weak lungs at the time. Yep. And it was one of those situations where I just couldn't cure it. So I came home with my body's permission, right? Like I told her, well, this happens some more, I'm going to go back. And she didn't want to go back. And eventually, after a few weeks, it went away.
Then we got AquaCure, and now it's really
now it's like we have the AquaCure in my lungs. I've never felt so strong in my life.
Pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So, hospitals, the path of going to hospital, you're going to die, that can be true. The path of you go to hospital and you're going to survive, that's also can be true because it's your higher self choice that attracts the allies in the situation and the treatment. Right. So I went to hospital because of my lungs. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was so tired of trying to breathe, remember? Just couldn't do it anymore. So you took me to hospital and we manifested an ally because I had to live and I had to live healthily. Yes. So we manifested an ally that told us the truth.
Exactly. Yeah. Same like our vet for Lucy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had to go through 1 or 2 and we had to recover from the giving the power away.
Exactly.
And actually inspect and check what was going on and then agree or disagree with those processes.
Yes.
And find the ones that actually met our matched our desire.
Yes.
Matched the experience that we were after, right?
Yeah.
So Lucy came out good, but only when I took the authority back.
Yes.
And same thing with my dad. He got better when I took my authority and told them what I had tapped in and sensed,
Yes.
in language they could hear.
Yeah.
Without being, I didn't have to be mean, but I had to explain it in a way that they could hear it.
Right.
Like they had his hypothermia turned down a little too low because he burned a little hotter. Mm-hmm. So I got him to turn it up to where it should be for him. We just said, okay, we'll try it. I mean,
he's going to die anyways.
Nobody wakes up anyways, but here you go. 99 instead of 97, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And they did it, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you orchestrate what is going to come based on the other person's higher self. Anyways,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
There's so much going on.
Right.
So it isn't accurate or even true to say don't go to the hospital.
No, it isn't.
And I'm not saying that either.
No.
But there's plenty of people who are using that as an exit. But been true forever.
Forever. That's been true forever, right? Mm. And it's also been true that a lot of people have car crashes as their exit. Or that things drop off from aeroplanes and crash them, you know? Or they're walking down the street and they get struck by lightning, you know? It's true that people choose...
everything.
Exactly, yeah. It's true that people will orchestrate the exit story that fits
suits them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't need to or have to demonize anyone.
No,
because
I don't think so.
I've had good experiences, mostly.
Exactly.
Almost all of them, actually.
Yeah. Right.
But I've read about poor ones.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not mine.
Right.
Yeah, interesting, right? How powerful our choice is in the matter.
Yeah.
And I have watched, well, you know, I'm sure it was true before, but I was asleep to it. But now I'm more alert and more aware of the things that are happening. And so my experience of giving my power away and then taking my power back is conscious.
That's the whole point of the whole thing. That's why I want people to take the Instant Manifestation workshop. Because that teaches you from taking decisions unconsciously to becoming conscious. Taking conscious decisions. That's exactly what it teaches, and that's why I'm so keen on people doing this workshop. Because we want at least 1,000 fully empowered, fully functional, high frequency, instant manifestors on the planet. I actually want 1 million. But 1,000 to begin with, and then that 1,000 will bring another 1,000 in, right?
Well, that 1,000 will teach their children.
As well, yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I want this to happen. That's
a good goal.
That's a good goal.
I fully support you in that.
Yeah.
I'll go for 1 million.
What light workers, 1,000 light workers who can manifest instantly anything that they put their mind to, especially as a group, as a cohesive
especially as a group.
Because that's part of the keys. One of the keys is work with good allies and good counsel. Mm-hmm. And that's the group that you join the workshop with that becomes that.
That good ally, good counsel.
Yeah. 100%. Everybody who's using these tools understands them and becomes empowered together. So,
it's not.
What will they do? What will they do with that power?
Well, create a new paradigm that I want to live in.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the nice thing in this sense. You aren't taking a course.
No.
You're joining a team.
Yes. You're finding your allies.
You're finding your allies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because I don't think many people realize that when they start.
I don't
Not
think
to the degree that it happens.
No, I don't
Definitely
think they
not.
do.
They think that they're learning some skills to, make their life better, make $1 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Have a car.
And that's good.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
True. But they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another dozen or better with them on this who are their co-creative allies.
And the energy of our strength is your strength and your strength is our strength comes alive.
Yep,
it's no longer a theory. It comes alive.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Powerful.
So, believable stories, part of healing. Stick around. Don't take those exit doors.
Yeah, not right now. Don't take no exits now. Just hang out.
Hang out.
Hang out. We need high frequency co-creators.
Yeah. And manifest those beautiful stories of wonderful, filled with ease lives. Work, living situations, relationships, friendships, family, filled with ease and full of beautiful high frequency experiences. This is what you can create on this planet now. You can create this now. You don't have to wait. Stop waiting. Just do it now.
Okay. If you say so.
Yes, I do.
Okay, then it is so.
Cool.
Well, I feel pretty complete.
Me too.
But I want to leave one cliffhanger.
Okay.
Do you mind?
I don't know. What is it?
Last night I went to sleep.
OMG.
And this morning when I woke up...
Hour 2, you think?
Huh?
Hour 2? The Walk With Me Now hour?
Oh, maybe it'll show up on that one. Yeah, we're considering an hour 2. Yeah. That will be a continuation of this hour, except for just for Walk With Me Now members.
Yeah.
Or we were going to have a Subscribe Star membership type of thing for it. Just basically so we can talk about the really far out stuff without any need at all for any censorship.
I know,
It changes who we're talking to.
It does.
Because right now we're talking to anybody, everybody.
Exactly.
And that's a co-creation of anybody, everybody who can find us.
Exactly. Yeah.
This second hour thing would be
you already found us.
You found us. You're a part of us.
Interesting.
You are a co-creator of this with us.
Exactly.
And we're doing this together kind of thing.
Right.
So that conversation's it's just a little different. It's like the difference between
is very different.
Walking in a coffee store and talking to the barista and saying, "Hi, how was your day?" And she says, "It's great." It's like, "What about instant manifesting?" You say, "Oh yes, that's a nice, interesting thing. You can have a real strong life like that."
Yeah.
But, you haven't met her. You don't really know her that well.
Right.
And you don't know what program she's running or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you happen to sit down at the coffee shop and the barista brings you your coffee, and then your best mate from Walk With Me Now comes and sit down and you say, "Hey, what do you think about this instant manifesting?"
Oh,
what's
my
that
God.
conversation
That conversation's going to be so
different?
different.
It's going to go a bit deeper, right?
It's way deeper, yeah.
You don't have to
censor it
or wonder,
fluffy
it, or So anyway, that's kind of what the second hour stuff will probably be like.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. We haven't done it.
Correct.
Because honestly, getting the first hour each week is a little bit of a stretch. Because
we have been instantly manifesting
Sunday,
so many things.
4:30.
I know. I'm sorry, Sandra.
Sorry, Sandra. Sorry, Inelia.
We're supposed to send it up on Wednesdays, and
it's Sunday.
We've been instantly manifesting so many amazing things. That's why.
Yes, we're quite occupied. And I mean, when we fall into bed, we actually
fall into bed exhausted.
With the exhausted sense of satisfaction. You have a full day done completely.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, the cliffhanger, that will be our motivation to get our second hour going.
Yeah.
Was what happened this morning.
Yes.
I went to bed last night. Mm-hmm. And when I woke up in the morning, like I usually and want to do, I got up and come out here to start the water to get to boiling. Uh-huh. And when I was come out here, I noticed my hair felt weird.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, my hair must be sticking up all over the place. I took a shower when I went to bed, so
that's what usually happens.
It always is sticking up everywhere. And you say, "Honey, your hair," because I'll just go out,
because you told
do my
me,
day, and I said, "Honey, if you see my hair looks like this, tell me so I can at least pat it down a little bit." People that can't even see me, all they can see is my ridiculous hair sticking up everywhere. So you promised me that you would do that.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, so this morning I noticed my hair was feeling like it was sticking up every which way. And so I decided to, self-empower myself and not be told that my hair is sticking up. I went to the mirror and I looked to fix my hair.
And it's perfect.
It was perfect, except for one thing.
Tell us.
It was perfectly combed, brushed, and styled with the part on the wrong side.
Yeah. That's pretty impossible.
Which is totally impossible, because how does your hair get combed while you're sleeping?
And on the other side of the head.
And how does your part come out on the wrong side?
Right.
So you get up and you look in the mirror and your hair is perfect, but facing the wrong side of the way it should be combed. Well, it should be. I mean, it's just the wrong way of the way I'm used to. Yeah. If that wasn't strange enough, one of our co-housers, Fred, in the Shamachak,
this morning,
woke up this morning with exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
He said, because we had our Sunday lunch, and I was explaining what was going on with my hair, Zachary, and he looked at me with his eyes like, "What? Me too. My hair was parted
And he's got really long
He's
hair.
got a bunch of hair. Yeah, his hair goes down to his knees almost. No, it doesn't.
Kind of does, yeah.
It will if he just gives it another little while.
Oh my gosh. And he's like, for him, that's never happened before, ever.
It never happened to me either, but for him to wake up with his hair parted the wrong way and brushed
completely impossible.
Totally impossible.
Yeah.
So you said you have an inkling of what might be up with that.
Yes. So I said...
You said... See you in the second hour. I love you, honey.
I love you too, darling.